Hello and welcome to Me, My CTO and I, brought to you by CTO Academy. We've had a brief hiatus. Those of you who have followed our first two seasons and first 12 episodes will know that we've been absent for around about six or so months. So it's a very great pleasure to welcome back my friend, colleague and co-host Sanjay Mistry. Hello, sir.
Hi, how's it going? It's been a long time. It has been a long time since we came. So yeah,
It has
good
been a
app.
long time. And yeah, well, listen, the viewers who are watching this on YouTube will notice that my marketing team has spruced up my surroundings. I actually got a real plant behind me now, Sanjay. So it's all good. Now, they say that a week is a long time in politics, which I think for our UK Prime Minister is probably very true with recent events. But 6 months is certainly a long time in tech. What's been happening in your world around new tech and how you're implementing it?
So okay, look, like everybody else in the world in tech, it's AI, but my challenge is slightly different. So AI, great on a big learning journey. Where I've got a challenge is actually the cost of the GPU and the cost of doing deep processing. So we're doing kind of still image to video processing and being able to not just rent GPU time, which is very expensive, but to find it, the availability. So yeah, loving it, loving the whole AI journey, finding lots of challenges in terms of getting to production. So yeah, having lots of fun in that space.
Well, I've little doubt that AR will be emerging as a topic through the next 6 episodes of season 3. Obviously, as a fully signed up member of the non-techie club, Sanjay, you'll know that I have a light touch relationship with it. However, what's really been interesting to me over the last few months, particularly from a CEO perspective, I'm in love with Perplexity, but every time I tell everybody that, they go, no, you must use Gemini. It's now brilliant and Claude. So it's a really interesting race, isn't it, as to how these things are developing. But what I definitely know for sure is I think from a business leader's perspective, AI upskilling, integration, education is now a baseline. It's an absolute imperative. And I think the real competitive advantage is how you apply it to the customer experience. How do you create kind of human-centric applications out of all this, out of all this AI noise? I think is definitely going to make the difference, isn't it?
Agreed.
So listen, there are quite a few things we're reintroducing, which I will come to in a second. But we have a very new sponsor, Sanjay. We're very, very pleased to announce that the shows are now being sponsored by Mixpanel. Mixpanel, for those of you not aware, is the product analytics platform that you need to help your business understand user behavior in real time. They turn complex data into actionable insights, so they empower your teams to make smarter decisions, improve user engagement, and drive growth through data-driven product development. Now, Sanjay, this isn't just me blowing smoke in the direction of our new sponsors, because you are, in fact, a user and an advocate for Mixpanel, are you not?
Yeah, huge advocate. So business I work for has used it for about 8 or 9 years. I inherited it, so I've been using it for about 3.5 years. It's invaluable for our business. The data analytics information it gives us in terms of our funnel and how that feeds into how we generate money is the best thing. So yeah, huge advocate. Definitely recommend people giving it a try.
Awesome. Mixpanel.com. And they're sponsoring the show. They've enabled me to get my nice new plant in the background. So thank you to the team at Mixpanel. More about them as we go through season 3. Now, quick setup here for you, Sanjay. Your fireside chat. Just tell us before we move elsewhere in the show as to who you're talking to and what you were talking about.
So I'm talking to Bhavesh, who's this CTPO of London Marathon. His background is Collison, TSB, Barclaycard, and we're going to be talking about product development and product innovation. So great space, and he's a great expert in this area.
Love it. I love your fireside chats. Also in the show, we have the return of two other much loved features, I would argue. One is around the tech world in 80 seconds. We covered it. We covered a lot of cities in season 1, Manchester, Cape Town, to name but two. We have Stockholm, Sanjay, being covered in that little section right at the end of the podcast. So please hang on for that, because we love those little 80-second travelogues. And also, you'll be very pleased to know, Sanjay Mistry, that we have the return of the tech limerick.
Yes, that's my favorite. I'm excited for that one. I'm excited.
Well, I think it's a good one, but who am I to judge? You will find out shortly. But without further ado, we move on to the world's most popular technology quiz.
You really, really need to get out more.
And so, yes, welcome back to the world's favorite technology quiz. And here, fighting out for $50. It's US dollars. I have to clarify that because we are here with people from Australia and New Zealand, but $50 to spend and to get out more at their favorite local restaurant. Very, very warm welcome from Wellington, New Zealand, Rachel Collingridge, and from Melbourne, Australia, Daryl Teo. Hi, both. Thank you both for stepping up and volunteering.
Hey, Andrew.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, pretty pleased to be here this evening. Yeah.
Well, it's an evening for you, Rachel. Tell us, Rachel, first, if you wouldn't mind. What tech challenges are you facing down in New Zealand and down in Wellington?
Well, I'd say a few things. One is that the market at the moment in terms of economy is a very interesting time politically. So challenges in the industry as a whole are really. There's companies closing down and downsizing, and a lot of change in government. So there's a lot of people out there looking for work. So there's that. I work for Totara, a learning management system company, and we have a perennial challenge in that we don't deliver as a SaaS company does and host our own tech. We deliver via a partner model. So we're New Zealand founded and grown, but we have a northern hemisphere market, and so that's pretty interesting to be delivering. It's our partners that host our stuff. So we're not seeing the latency and the downtime and the performance issues in the same way that a SaaS company might. So bit of a arm's length for us. So that's always an interesting challenge. And I think the last thing would be, AI tooling and what does AI mean in all aspects of our business. So I think any technology leader who said they weren't finding that some form of challenge would be, I don't know, perhaps a bit head in the sand.
How do you find operating in the northern hemisphere, but kind of based in the southern hemisphere? Are you finding kind of time zone difference or cultural differences different? Because I think from a tech perspective, cultural differences, even in different countries next to each other, are so different. How does that impact, especially a e-learning platform?
Yeah, there is always that in the company, like you say, time changes. I think that anything that looks like a disadvantage can sometimes be an advantage. That idea that we're actually, overnight we can get response from our colleagues. So, that can really be an advantage, which is cool. Again, because we're not doing that 24/7 hosting, we don't have that, engineer needs to be always on in terms of paging and what have you. So in our case, that is certainly a blessing as well. But I think it does make you really aware of people's environment and circumstance, and just be sensitive to the different perspectives that we all come from. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
And those of you listening to this and not watching it won't have spotted that there is a saxophone in the background. Rachel is a fantastic saxophone player. I'm trying to convince to become part of the CTO Academy band. That might be a bit far-fetched, but lovely to see the sax playing a role there, Rachel.
And it's not just a prop at the moment. There's definitely music on the stand, practice is happening, gigs occurring, and I'm just getting back into the saddle on that after a while off.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. Now, I've never been to Wellington, although I will do one day, but I once lived in Melbourne, so I have a slight bias, I have to confess, certainly in terms of location, to the location of our second contestant. Daryl, very warm welcome to you in Melbourne. Where are you? What's the challenges, opportunities for you in Melbourne?
Thank you very much, Andrew. It's actually freezing here, so a warm welcome is very appreciated. So I'm currently in the space of basically doing AI oriented digital transformations for let's just say companies that are just realizing that they need to have technology as part of their business. I think especially out in the news and the media, there's a lot of hype around all of these tech companies doing all this amazing magical stuff, and then there's just a wide you know spectrum of businesses that are just simply forgotten. Really traditional businesses with really old processes that needs to be modernized, and they don't know how to get there. And so we're starting to see, I guess, a second renaissance of businesses looking to modernize their technology. My theory being that the first renaissance was the COVID era, where businesses were forced to deal with the lockdowns and having a really short amount of time to quickly pivot and adapt to a digital first reality. And so this is now the new reality, which is the AI first reality that the businesses need to adapt to. And I'm hoping to help businesses with that.
Do you know, it's a really interesting space, Daryl, because um, I think AI and the use of AI in businesses has become normal over the last couple of years. But like you said, there are certain industries, certain sectors that will be paying catch up. You know, they're not early adopters essentially. How are you finding the gap? Because obviously the people that are already on the bandwagon have progressed 2 or 3 steps. Now, are the people that you're talking to, do they want to get to step 4 before kind of going through the kind of, you know, natural progression? And how are you kind of working that challenge?
Yeah, at least in the let's just say the last project that I worked on, there was definitely a drive to, try and do this great leap to full AI proficiency. And the way that I think of it really is that, like any kind of transformation, any kind of organizational transformation, is gotta be process and people first. Those are the areas that you need to focus on, and AI hasn't really changed that. So, with any exercise with introducing AI to an organization, the first step is going to be: do you know what your processes are? And how well, where are the wastes, where is the areas, the busy work that, that could be reduced? And also, what is the proficiency of the people, and also their willingness to pick up something, because there may need to be a massive kind of educational piece before even doing any process changes as well. So I would say those are the things that really businesses need to focus on. And the great thing is that it's not new. It's something that we've already done for a very long time in the industry. So it should be second nature.
Yeah, love it. I completely agree as well. Completely.
Cool. Well, thanks for those intros, guys. So just to remind everybody and yourselves as well, in our very low tech quiz, we have 3 questions. It's going to be just call out your first name if you think you know the answer to it, and you'll get the first option. Obviously, if that's wrong, then it goes to the other person. And also nominated restaurants. Rachel, if you were to win our $50, where would you be spending that money?
I would go to a restaurant called Graze, spelled Graze. It's in the next suburb over from me. It's got some very good reviews. It's line caught fish. It's stuffed forage from about and a lovely wine list. So it's a great experience there. I would definitely spend. And I mean, $50 is millions of New Zealand dollars or something at the conversion rate.
Viewers on YouTube will be seeing a picture of Graze. And Daryl, were you to win, where would you be going in Melbourne?
I'll be going to a pub called the Imperial Hotel. They do one of the best chicken parmesanas in Melbourne and perhaps Australia. So I'll be going there, have a chicken parma and a few pints to celebrate.
Nice claim to fame for the Imperial. Right. We've got 3 questions. Acronym, a tech term, and CEO. Rachel, I'll give you first option. Which of those 3 would you like to go first with?
I'll go for the acronym. I may regret this, but we'll give it a go.
All right. Okay. Again, shout out your name if you think you know it, and we'll take it from there. So Wi-Fi, the origin story of Wi-Fi is that it was created by a brand consulting firm to replace, and I'm going to read this out for you, to replace IEEE 802.11 standard. But it doesn't mean wireless fidelity. It was actually taken from hi-fi. What does hi-fi mean?
Yeah.
Rachel, I think.
So is that not high fidelity?
It is. It is. Very good.
I think the musician is pleased that
Sanjay, I'm double checking as my co-host here that I think Rachel just got in first.
She did. I was going to call Rachel as well.
You know, it's easy with our low tech system to pick up the first voice, but well done, Rachel. 1-0 to Wellington. Okay. Daryl, I'll give you the option of the other 2. We've got tech term. It's another origin story, actually. Tech term or CEO.
I'll go for tech term.
Okay, here we go. Bug. The word bug to describe technical error or malfunction. And I'm going to accept one of two answers here because there's a popular myth of who created this phrase, and there's what's kind of accepted as the origin story. Do you know who was the person generally named as the person who coined the phrase bug?
Rachel. Was it Ada Lovelace because of the mechanical stuff, or
It's not. It's not. I'm going to throw it at Daryl.
I don't even have. I know the origin story. Yeah, one of them anyway. The moth in the computer. I'm just going to maybe take a punt and say Martin Fowler.
No, but you're getting there. So allegedly, the phrase actually comes from Thomas Edison, who patented something called the bug trap in 1873. So that's kind of accepted as where it first emerged. But the connection, Daryl, with the moth experiment is Grace Hopper. So Grace Hopper is the person who is kind of more commonly popularized with having used the term or made it more popular. So I think a half a point for Daryl there, Sanjay, with the moth.
I think so.
All right, let's.
I knew there was a woman in tech in there somewhere, but just the wrong era.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I think this last one is quite easy. So Sandra, please help me with who gets there first. CEO question. Can you name the CEO and chairman of Microsoft?
No,
Rachel.
Who's Daryl?
It's
it's Satya Nadella.
I think they're all getting to us there, Rachel. I think Sanjay called that one. So 1.5 to 1. Congratulations, Daryl. The Imperial Hotel will have a benefit from $50 of CTO Academy's money. But Rachel, thank you for joining us, and thank you both for joining us. And I know it's late-ish on a Friday with both of you, so happy weekend.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. Good game.
So Sanjay, that was the Battle of the Tasman Sea. Thank you, Rachel, Daryl, very much indeed for raising your head above the parapet. And now you always tell me at the end of these quizzes that you would have got them all right. Was there anything in there that
No.
you didn't?
No, the origin story of the bug, I didn't know it. I feel like a real failure, but I didn't know it. So it was good. It was nice.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks again to those guys. More of those to come. But without further ado, Sanjay's fireside chat.
Hey, Bhavesh, thank you for joining me. Really appreciate you joining me on this podcast. So in this session, we're going to be talking about product development and really the extraction of value, right? So no point doing a bit of product development if someone, the business, people, users, consumers are not getting value out of it. So that's going to be the kind of arc of our conversation. So I'm going to dive in like I always do and not give guests a chance to take a breath. But, you're a senior product leader. You've been a senior product leader in lots of businesses. You've been around this cycle many, many times, right? Seen lots of good success and lots of failure. Tell me what happens when, you're sitting in your proverbial office, someone comes and knocks on your door, like a senior leader, a senior director, a board member, and goes, "Hey, I've got this crazy idea for a brand new product." What goes through your head at that point?
So I think this is not typical. It genuinely happens. The biggest problem with product is prioritization. There's so many good ideas. Which ones do you prioritize? Which ones do you put your bets against to make sure you can deliver value? So it may not be a crazy idea, but it might be an idea to say, "Hey, I've had this idea. We should do this." Now, in my head, I'll be thinking, "Why?" But genuinely, you can't just say, "Why are we going to do this?" Right? It's not gonna get you the brownie points or build a rapport. So tend to then verbalize that's an interesting idea. Let's talk about it a little bit more, and then I'll spend some time to really understand what are they trying to achieve. What is the idea? How did it come about? Sometimes these ideas are genuinely super valuable because a number of SMEs, senior leaders who have been around for a long time, synthesize information for over many years. I have lots of different meetings with lots of different people, and they somehow are able to synthesize this idea that would not come about otherwise. So sometimes really good ideas. Other times, it's just because they went to a dinner and they saw a presentation and thought that's what we need to do. And really, what you're trying to get to is either one of two things. One is either you want to progress with the idea because you think it's a good idea, or you want to be able to steer them away from. Yeah, you keep them ideas, to keep them coming, but not this time. And that's the art. Then that's the art of discussion. What I find sometimes when you're having that discussion or conversation, it's about really understanding what's the value that's going to unlock. What's that value extraction we talked about at the top of the call? What's the value that's going to unlock? If we do this, what does that change in terms of what are the metrics that will change? What are the things that will be different once this is gone live? And what that does is it forces the other person. Ideas are cheap. People have ideas all the time. I think, a lot of people will have many, many $1 million ideas. The hardest bit is the really understanding what's the priority thing that they're going to do, how they're going to move that forward, what does that unlock, how are they going to pivot and move forward again. That bit is quite a difficult or uncomfortable space for some. So by asking them questions, what you're able to do is sometimes make people think, okay, yeah, that's an interesting question. I've not thought about that. Then they go back and come back, or they realize that actually their idea isn't brilliant. It's not going to work. There isn't a distribution channel, and therefore it's not a good idea, and it doesn't get done. Or actually, now you're both excited because you've started to think about it, and you're shaping the idea more through conversation to a point where you may have a valuable idea that could be the moat in the organization across the competition, for example.
Yeah. And it sounds like those initial conversations, and like you said, it's never someone knocking on your door, and it's an iteration of a process to kind of go, this is a product idea, but it's kind of getting into the detail of the value, the viability, like you said, can this product help us create a moat for our business? Does it really set us apart? And I guess as a product leader, they're your first questions, right? That you're are you trying to tease them out, or do you have a specific set of, questions that you'll kind of fire at people to, to get that conversation going, or to extract that knowledge into your own head?
So it depends on the leader. Really, it's about them understanding what they're saying, and then allowing me to get a bit more depth of the context that they're talking through. So it's a bit of both, depending on who I'm talking to. That viability, the feasibility, the scalability are all the things that then should come from that, right? So having a great idea that's only going to serve one person isn't a scalable idea that's going to, unless that person is, a segment of one that's got billions of dollars that will pay $1 billion for this product, tends not to be the case. Then, that tends to then, through conversations, coaching, chunking through some of the decision making and understanding, it allows you to not say no, but get to a conclusion either way. Either that's an idea we're going to back, put some bets against it, do some more discovery work, or actually that's an idea that we're gonna put onto the backlog.
Yeah. Okay. Love it. And I think that's so interesting. As especially kind of, I guess, larger organizations, these magical products don't just appear. That negotiation, even at that concept stage, is a process in its own right. Okay. So if you move on,
And just the other thing on that Sanjay, sometimes the idea may just be the nucleus of something very different, but it can be the nucleus. It could be the kernel that pops into a popcorn that could be very different to the initial idea. So having that flexibility to even, and this has just come to me, even having that flexibility to say, we'll do something to understand and get more signals, but then signals may mean that you pivot. So the original idea and concept, this is what most startups do, right? They look for product market fit, and their idea or the thing they're trying to do changes so significantly to get product market fit, and then what they were started with to what they got to is very different.
yeah. So actually, that's what I want to get into. So, a lot of startups do this, right? That in a startup world, getting to product market fit is so important. And everyone will go through those iterations and there'll be lots and lots of pivoting during that. I guess what I want to talk about is, does the same thing happen in a larger organization where you've already got a suite of products? You've then decided to launch something brand new. You've gone through discovery. You do believe there's a gap, right? But you're now at the point of the starting to build this product, whatever that means, right? You've said it aligns to your strategy, which is a big tick. But coming back to that question of, you're gonna go on this voyage, how do you as a product leader ensure that from day one there's going to be extraction of value? And I guess, who's that value for? Like, who are the typical segments when you as a product leader are going, am I getting value for my customers, my shareholders, what are those value points that you're always thinking of as a product leader?
So I guess for me, the key one for that value extraction is continue to release value early. What that means is it could be very small, it could be a prototype, it could be a login screen, it could be something super small, but as soon as that's ready, we should look to try and launch that, try and push that forward, and then get signal and data from that. How do you make sure you're going in the right direction? Is about releasing value early and getting the signals around adoption. So be it you have a beta tester group or early access group and you're testing some of these ideas with them to understand if it's going to work. Going back to kind of the original question, in a large organization, if they've adopted something like safe, and I'm a very anti-safe kind of guy. I think it's an anti-pattern for anything that you want to do at pace and have the agility. But if you've adopted something like safe, the sheer force and effort that's needed to get it into PI planning and all them dependencies that you have to work through and all that effort that's needed, what that means is you've got this commitment bias, which means that even if the signals are telling you, actually, this might not work, you're looking to launch blockbuster movies version 2, but Netflix has come out, right? But no, we'll carry on with Blockbuster because all that effort's gone in, and once we've built it, we can change it. So, depending on that context of how much effort is needed, even forgetting about safe, but even if you've had to go through a real rigorous return on investment business case cycle, really work through all the numbers, making sure that the end state is clearly defined on every single level with a milestone plan. When you get to that kind of commitment, you don't want to be going back and saying, "Hey, um, the signals have said that actually this isn't going to work, or the world has changed, or context, the context in the environment that we're working towards has changed." It becomes quite difficult then for people to actually say, "Look, we're going to take a pause, understand where we are, and then see where we need to pivot." So that's a challenge then, because that's normal with irrelevant of product. That's normal with any technology projects, any investment projects, any transformational projects. You got financial transformational project, you're moving from, I don't know, spreadsheets to Dynamics 365 or something, and it's a real pain, but now you've committed to the pain. People continue to go and throw good money after bad money after good money to try and get something working of value. So it becomes more difficult in larger organizations to pivot. And even scale ups, so startups that turn to scale ups, once they've started to, the size of the team has grown and they're looking to try and drive a roadmap for unlocking further funding, it becomes quite difficult for them to then be able to change and pivot.
And how do you, I mean, you've got lots of experience in this space, and that scares me, right? I've been in the same situation where, like you said, commitment bias, right? Everyone said, everything said that this was going to be good, but you're kind of, many months into this, you've done a couple of releases, a couple of iterations, and all feedback is not good. what do you do as a leader? I mean, that's such an important decision point. And actually, as a product leader, you've got to put the brakes on, right? Like even in a big corporate, you've got to be putting on the brakes. But how do you go about doing that? Because like you said, you may have investors kind of going, yeah, they're all in on this. What do you do?
So you have to be brave. You need to make sure you're transparent with what the data is saying, and make sure that you're being impartial, right? So this is not about the blame game, right? And sometimes, depending on the organization, you might be told to leave, and that's okay. That's what you have to be comfortable with, right? This is not about, this is what's right for the organization and what's right for the investment, then what's right for your job sustainability, let's say. So you have to be very transparent from the beginning. And if you're releasing value early and you're getting them signals, you can use them signals and say, hey, the signals looked good. And now we've come across something where we need to take a pause. We don't want to spend the money. We want to have a look at it again, go through some discovery. And this is where agility really comes from, right? So, your roadmap should be fed from discovery. Now, what I mean by discovery, and if you think about design thinking, a lot of people get stuck in the really exciting stuff. It's the open kind of, the divergent thinking of the opportunity space, and you spend months and months and months, and time is depending on how much resources you have, money you have. So months and months and months in discovery, thinking about lots of great things, and that's brilliant. The hard bit is then converging, prioritizing, figuring out what's next, how do we move this forward. But people start thinking of design thinking and agile and delivery as a very linear process. Once we've done the discovery, we'll do something and then we'll deliver something and launch. It's quite a cyclic process. Everything that feeds your roadmap should start with discovery. Big or small, there should be some sort of discovery. Could be an hour's worth of discovery, could be weeks worth of discovery, depending on complexity. That feeds your roadmap in terms of, capabilities you want to launch. So if you've got that set up, then your discovery is informing you that actually you're going to hit an iceberg. Actually, you're not getting to New York, you're going to hit an iceberg. And at that point, you have to have them open conversations, say, the signals are telling us, the data that we're tracking here is telling us that there has been a seismic shift in external environment, regulatory shift has changed the ability for us to really drive any the feasibility of our product. Lots of external factors, the competition's already launched something, they've not been able to succeed, we're not going to be able to succeed unless we do something differently. And having them conversations means you can go back into discovery. And if you're doing that frequently, then your investment is not going to be, and I've been there, millions and millions of pounds worth of projects to get to a date to go live. And everyone's just chasing the date, not the extraction of value, because of the way that the organization is structured. The things that people are rewarded with means that people are just walking to deliver the date, not what the outcome is. And once the date's been delivered, everyone takes a deep breath and says, yes, we got the product live. And they're just really, really tired. And then they're not looking at, value extraction. So for me, it's about being honest, open, and really being clear on what the metrics are saying. And if you keep that from upfront, then bad things may happen. Someone who may not be an understanding leader may say, actually, okay, this is on you. You may need to leave the organization. That's okay. But at least you've held your integrity and making sure that you've done what's right for the organization.
And I guess that comes back to being true to value extraction, right? Like you're going through a known process, so a process that you as a product leader believes in, and going, right, we've got to go through this cycle. So we go and do some discovery, we go and do some build, we go and do some test in the market. It's live and it's being used, and hopefully it's being used and consumed in anger. And all of a sudden you go, right, we've now got more data points. You now go and do the next discovery cycle, whatever that might be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever faced a situation where, again, you've worked with some large organizations, and where you're on this journey, this product development journey, it's a juggernaut already, and you get a data point going, nah, this thing needs to die, right? Or this thing needs a 90-degree pivot. Have you ever been in that situation, and how have you broken the news to kind of leadership? Because I guess leadership may have spent, tens of thousands of pounds or millions of pounds, right? It's all perspective, right? It doesn't really matter, but a large amount of money. How do you break that news? Like and how does it go down, right? How does it go down, especially in large organizations?
So the answer to that is yes. I won't mention the particular product, but let's say millions of pounds has been spent to branch the product out. The adoption in first year was going to be 1 million. It got to 80,000, and then it just flatlined. So initially, yes, it's going good. The cost to acquire was about 12 times higher than the business case said. So if you think about 100 times, it was costing 1,200 to acquire one customer. And to get your £100 back was a 3-year customer lifetime value. If you're paying £1,200, the signals are telling you that actually this isn't going to work. And I think there is you have to think about people's human nature. Senior sponsor who's put all their in that organization, their career bets on this thing being the next big thing, and then the signals are saying no. So you have to approach it with data, and almost storytelling to explain that this is where we are, this is what we're doing, these are our options, and one of them options is to kill it.
Yeah.
There might be 90-degree pivots we can do, but sometimes the only option is to kill it. Now, that's quite difficult for a senior sponsor who's given millions and millions of dollars or million pounds to get this done. And then it's that storytelling. And sometimes you don't convince them. Sometimes it's, well, no, we'll just carry on and we'll see what we can do. And we can do this and we can do this and we'll move this along. And all that does is just keep a lot of people busy where the value extraction isn't there, because your signals are flatlining. You're not doing anything different to change that and drive more adoption. You're not unlocking more value. What you're looking at, and the default usually then is, what are the other customer base or segment we can go after? Then thinking actually the product doesn't work, they're trying to sell the same product to other segments. Then what you should be thinking about is, what can we reuse from the product, and then try and target a different segment. But it's a very different thinking. It's very difficult thinking. So a few things that happen. If you think about the grief life cycle, a lot of people go into denial. Then there's anger. Then there's acceptance. And then they get over it, whatever that conclusion may be. A lot of anger in large organizations, especially when a lot of money has been spent. So being open, transparent, and having that integrity is key. It allows you to sleep well at night, but also means that whatever the result, you've done the right thing for the organization.
Yeah. And I guess that's important. And I think, listening to you there, it's super interesting, because the differentiation that you need to make, and I guess the storytelling that you're trying to do is, here's my value and here's my cost that I've spent. And actually, they don't need to be aligned, right? I may have spent lots of money, but if I haven't created lots of value, whatever value means, it could be dollar signs, it could be eyeballs, it could be anything. If they don't align, then the cost is irrelevant, right? And I guess it is your job as a product leader to kind of explain that in a story, to go, there's no point sinking more dollars into this, because the value is just not going to come. And I guess it's going back to that original story with senior leaders and sponsors and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. And some organizations, they're structured in a way where they'll have a commercial lead and a product lead, and they may not get on. And that's sometimes good, because you get independence of kind of, return on investment. But genuinely, I believe product leaders, senior CTOs, senior technology leaders should all have a P&L responsibility, either through cost optimization or revenue generation. But there should be a P&L cost center or P&L line in your objectives to make sure that you're driving the right impact from a revenue perspective. It's not always about having the latest tech, the latest, LLM models. It's more around you're a business. You want to make sure that revenue is coming through. And let's be honest, if you work in technology, the worst thing you can be is the most highest expensive cost center. You need to make sure you're demonstrating value through outcomes that come through either directly or indirectly, revenue that can be generated. If you've built a capability that you can cross sell, upsell across the industry, why not? Right? You see this with banking as a service with Starling, for example, right? That was their strategic business model to say we'll build the pipes, we'll dog food the thing ourselves as a bank, but we can also then use this from a payments perspective, a banking perspective, and other people can use our, let's call it a bank in a box, and white label it. And again, that opens up different distribution channels, and again, extraction of value.
And that's the key, right? It's kind of looking at it through a different lens, right? Rather than the original lens that you looked at this product with. I kind of want to, before I draw a conclusion to end, I want to do another question, which is, many products, not all, but maybe most products have a conclusion, right? They have a life cycle, so they come to an end. When, as a product leader, do you kind of go, no, I've got to put this product down. It's now time to kill it off because and what is that? Because like, what's your thought process when you're at the end of a life cycle? Because no one talks about that, but it's so important as a product leader, right?
Absolutely, everything's cyclic, right? So you get your initial adoption, then you almost get to a point where you've got a sustained number of people using it, so you got that value extraction. Then you start seeing the decline. At that point where you start seeing the decline, that's a really strong signal to say we've got two options here. We can either re-innovate, reuse, do something different, or we need to sunset this thing. You see lots of products out there, especially SaaS products, where people have gone, they've had, in startups, they've had lots of funding, so they've sprayed and prayed with features. So you get this really feature rich product that's highly complex. It takes a month to do a release because of the entropy of the code. So all these things come into play, and no one's been brave enough to sunset it. So when I set up any of my teams, I'll always have the go-to-market and launch, but also the sunset process. And that means that when you're sunsetting something, there's right notifications that go to the customers who use it, because you may have 1,000 customers and one customer uses it, right? And they'll be super disappointed when that doesn't exist. You need to make sure you get the right messaging right. You need to then make sure you sunset it. By sunsetting things that do not make sense anymore, what you do is make sure you're keeping your ecosystem or your product suite as simple as possible and removing complexity. Because as soon as you keep adding entropy and complexity, then doing any change becomes super difficult. So the signal of decline, maybe it's active usage. Maybe it's kind of new customers coming through and using said feature product. Once that signal starts showing you that there is a decline, and that decline is becoming substantial, that's an indication of something needs to happen. And then you need to make the choice. Do we pivot, do something different, add something more, add more innovation into that because we really believe in that product, and there's maybe the world has changed and we need to do something differently. So, Instagram adding stories, for example, these sort of things, or is it actually we need to put it to bed? And I've got this box at home that's got lots of old fintech cards from fintech banks that came about, things like Bow. I think Yonder's now changed from gold reserves to kind of a credit card. But I've got all these cards that were once a great idea, but they weren't able to break the adoption and make it into a real business, and therefore, they had to sunset. And so I've got this stack of cards, and again, it wasn't fundamentally something wrong with the product. The business model didn't make sense, or something changed where the business model didn't make sense, and therefore they weren't able to get more revenue or weren't able to generate that revenue. That meant that they went to the whole fintech heaven, let's say.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing about that is sunsetting just seems like it seems like a necessity, because not just because of this one person out of your 1,000 that's still using the product, right? And I'm definitely one of those, like, when I start using a product, I'll use it forever until, I have a lot of the products I use get sunsetted. But actually, I really appreciate that comms from that third party, and it keeps me loyal. Like, if it just shut down overnight, I think I'd be really disappointed with the organization. But I think that communication and a graceful sunset, over a handful of months or whatever it may be, keeps me loyal to that organization. And then I kind of go looking for other products that may have an element of what I was using before. So yeah, I think that's it's
And
an
if you
important
And if
factor.
you think of every opportunity where you're talking to a customer, a client, if it's B2B, as an opportunity to demonstrate value, it's not even extract value, but demonstrate value, then your comms is going to be around, the reason why we're sunsetting this product is X, Y, and Z. However, here's the other products that we're investing our time, effort into, and would you like early access? Now, if you've got that loyalty with the company, they produced a product you really enjoyed, you've got good confidence that they're going to be able to release other products that you may be able to use and enjoy, being able to have that special treatment, to have early access into something different, again, is a great opportunity. The last thing you want to have is an email when it's too late to say, hey, sorry, this product you used, no longer using, or you get, a 404 when you go onto the product, right? That's like the worst case scenario. Sometimes it happens, someone pulls the plug out because there's no more funding, but having that messaging is super important because there's always opportunities, be it on an app store, be it on a website, be it on the comms that you send out to said customers, to be able to and to maintain that relationship.
Yes, I agree. So wow, lots covered. I kind of want to come full circle, right? I want to come full circle. Um, just to kind of help round this conversation off and kind of bring it back to our listeners. So, we've spoken a lot about product development. We've spoken a lot about the kind of the cycle of product development, right? So whether that's during its growth phase or actually during its sunset phase. If I was a new product leader, what are the 3 questions that I should be asking myself around not only going into a new product development phase, but actually around how do I ensure that I will continue to extract value? So what are the 3 questions I should be asking myself to ensure that value extraction continues, right?
So I think first one is metrics. What metrics am I measuring? That's absolutely key.
Okay.
And the metrics will change over time. And when I say metrics, it could be as simple as what's the question I need answering. And that then will determine the metrics, because you got the question I need answering is, I don't know, said number of registrations per day or something like this. Well, how am I going to measure that? Well, I need to know how many unique users are hitting my product and how many of them are converting from intent to actual registered customers. So you can use that kind of thinking through, but then metrics is key. To kind of, if you think of every question as cyclic, that question means, is it still valid, the metrics I'm measuring? That's, because sometimes you might be watching how many active users you have, but actually you're reading the wrong metric. And actually you've got active usage because you've done a big outbound to get new customers in. So your active users stay flat. What you've got is a big hole in terms of your retention problem, and lots of customers are leaving, right? And you're focused on, well, I've got my 6 million customers, but what you're not looking at is marketing is spending a budget of 3 million to keep your 6 million at where they are, but you've got a big hole where people are leaving. So again, what are the key metrics? And usually they are activation and retention. They're really key ones to measure. And then they're the signals you can use. So are we driving additional activation or usage? And are we it's the said functionality, feature, capability we've launched, has that now increased our retention or reduced our retention, right? You may have a really bad release and you may see people leaving, or the competition may have a really good release and you may see competition your customers leaving. So it's about making sure you have that balance in them questions. I think it's kind of your first principle questions that I would use. As a new product manager, you got to continuously look at, is this adding value? And it might not just be through metrics. It might not just be measuring metrics, but if you are privileged enough or lucky enough to have a number of test users, you should continue to keep making sure you're testing this with your test users. And I'm not talking UAT testing here. I'm talking almost research. So is this still a value? Why, we see that you've left. Again, endings. You see a customer's, in a SaaS proposition, the customer has decided to cancel their service. That's a perfect opportunity to understand why. It was laggy. It didn't work. It didn't promise me the things that it promised me wasn't able to achieve. I had a bad experience, or actually I was with Apple Music. I've gone to Spotify because it gives me that seamless one-touch play and I can share with my playlist. These are all great signals that you can start using and data signals to help, improve your product. So I would think about it from a qualitative and quantitative perspective. And then measures are going to be key. But it's not just about measuring. It's about then looking at, we talked at the beginning, prioritization. What am I prioritizing? Is that going to move the needles I need it to move? And if the answer is no, then you got to ask yourself, is this something we need to do? Do I need to make something red to green? Maybe not, right? Or am I going to move from Node.js to React Native? Maybe that's a strategic security reason why you're doing it. Sometimes it might just be because someone thinks it's a good idea. The end customer doesn't care. As long as the experience works, the end customer doesn't care, right? So you've got to keep asking them questions. And the better you get at asking questions, the better then the results come at the end.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a really good way to end this conversation. So, Bhavesh, thank you very much for joining me. I found that really useful. I thought it was a really great conversation. So, really appreciate it. And hopefully we get to catch up and speak again soon.
Look forward to catching up, Sanjay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Sanjay, I have to say, I always love your fireside chat. I like your fireside manner, Sanjay. I have to say, very reassuring. There were 3 highlights, if I may say, that I took from that, which was a fascinating chat. No idea is a bad idea. The genius is in asking the right questions to find the right idea, and releasing early, I think, as well, was the other key highlight for me. What did you think was a highlight?
So look, releasing early and finding value early, definitely a big plus for me. But the other one, and I think Bhavesh talks about this really well, is remember to listen to the data, right? And a lot of people will get sucked in because, they've been on a journey, they're trying to release a product, and they will just carry on. But, the reminder to just listen to your data and, see what it's telling you. And it might be telling you to give up and stop or do a big pivot. Well, if the data is telling you that, do it. So I found that really genius in terms of the conversation that we had.
Awesome. Well, wonderful. Thank you for that again. Now we're going to move on to the feature without any real popular demand for this, Sanjay. So this is just my indulgence. So this is our tech limerick, which we have covered. There is a little origin story, if I may just quickly tell you something else that's happened in the last 6 months. Is that I've co-authored a book, Sanjay. It's going to be coming out shortly. It's co-authored with my great friend Casey McCurdy, based over in Colorado, and it's called Bridging the Gap, and it's a book. It's a technology book for non-technologists. Is probably the best way to describe it. Of which, as you know, I am very much at the heart of that conundrum. So I've got a limerick that is pretty much based around that topic. So are you ready for this, Sanjay?
I'm excited.
Sorry, you're overdoing it now. Right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The latest tech limerick from me, my CTO, and I. The non-techie views tech with foreboding. It's the speed of change he has trouble uploading. It's a techie conspiracy. They've all got it in for me. Now, what the hell is this thing called vibe coding?
I mean, my excitement is, yeah, maybe it was too
You-
No, it was
On that note, on that happy note, we go around the world. Thanks for watching and listening. And so, hello, Gulsar. Thank you for joining us.
Many thanks for sharing that moment with me. It seems so enjoyable. So yeah,
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. We love this little section of the podcast, and we're very pleased to have it return. So, are you ready for 80 seconds on the Stockholm tech scene?
yeah, let's start.
Okay, cool. Let's. Oh, and by the way, for our listeners as well, there's going to be a rather loud noise on the 80-second mark telling us that we've come to a conclusion. So that will tell us when to stop, Gulsar. So, right, here we go. Ready, steady, go. Gulsar, who are you? Tell us about yourself and your company.
Yeah, actually, I have a very heavily technical background, but nowadays I'm the founder and the CEO of the Master AI.
Master.ai, brilliant. What are you working on?
Actually, it's a B2B SaaS platform and aiming to guidance IT infrastructure and operations team within the IT process, transformation and optimization process with the IT service quality.
Great. And very briefly, how long have you been going?
Actually, since September, we've been working on it.
Of last year, 24.
Yeah.
It's early stage, everybody. So you need to pile in and visit the website. Tell me what's happening on the Stockholm tech scene.
Yeah, actually, lastly, there was a tech show. It had a kind of tracks like AI, big data, and cybersecurity cloud. And beside that, actually, those kind of events, the government is launching some kind of policies to support the startup ecosystems. And it's growing, I would say.
Fantastic. And any big players emerging?
As a company, there is Lovable. I believe most of people have heard already that company, and actually also we used in our prototype development, so we love Lovable.
Love it. Okay. And now I think we're about to come to an end. It's all high tech at CTO Academy. Give us 5 words that capture Stockholm.
Snow, lake, fika, socialism, kindness.
I love it. Thank you. Gulsar, thank you for joining us and thank you for promoting Stockholm.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
We should all visit. Thanks a lot. You've been listening to Me, My CTO and I from CTO Academy, with huge thanks to Sanjay Mistry, Rachel Collingridge, Daryl Teo, Bhavesh Vaghela, Gulsar Sari, the City of Stockholm, and our wonderful new sponsors from Mixpanel. Until next time, muchas gracias.